Hi, my name is Jeff Adams with Terrasophia Ecological Design and Watershed Restoration based in Moab, Utah, and here to share a project on Bureau of Land Management property where we had some issues coming in where we've got this right here that's going down. It extends up canyon kind of off the screen here, and it has intercepted the water flows and then dumped it back into the gully right through here, creating a pretty big head cut. Hard to see in the picture, but that's probably about a 12 inch, 18-inch drop there. And then there's another drop here. So overall, we're looking at a 3-foot drop over the course of maybe 10 feet. It's eroding, leaving the rest of the area high and dry. And so what we did was we used a combination of um, sticks and mineral earth and reject sand to create essentially a gully plug where in this we've built up this berm, oops, um, this berm through here. So that's what's filled what was that head cut. It makes it so people can walk on the path, just go over a little wood chip berm and then be on their way. And then we've got this rock work in the foreground here that is laid out as essentially a media luna that kind of causes now any water that gets kicked off the side to spread out evenly across the width of this valley, pooling up to, in this case, probably about 3 or 4 inches of depth before that water would then spill over here and go down a reinforced, essentially a rock rundown with a combination of cobble rocks and some crisscrossed logs to give that water a stable way to get from the more intact valley up above and down into the channel below. And you can see that we are getting some vegetative response in amongst the rocks, as well as we were able to work around a few native shrubs and start to re-veg this area instantly.
Incredible, Jeff. So you're coming to a site and you're seeing quite a bit of erosion. It's interacting with visitor interactions and being able to come into a site and really be part of it. And so you take that course, you take that channel, you know that water is going there. So it interacts with this wood chip burn. And then when it gets to this media luna, it's basically spreading out. It's not concentrating. You're not getting those big drops. It's not getting more canyon-like or channelized. And when you come to something like this, how do you determine what to use? You've got this incredible toolbox of low erosion, low tech erosion controls. How do you choose what to use?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so there's a range of thoughts. There's kind of the like what materials are available on site, what's available locally, what type of structure am I needing to do, and what am I trying to accomplish. And so when I first got to this particular project, my first inclination was, oh, I'm going to build a Zuni bowl and a rock rundown and just get water safely to the existing head cut. And then as I looked at it more, I got to thinking, it's like, well, that's not the highest potential of this site. The highest potential of the site is actually to plug the head cut completely and force that water to spread out and slow down over a wider area. So there's kind of, there were multiple treatment options, and I decided upon enough thinking of how do I extend the residence time of this water in the landscape for the longest period that I reasonably can over the widest area that I can using the materials that I have on site. And in this case, there's no machine access, so everything we had to haul up. Luckily, the parking lot was pretty close, as you can see in the picture. And what you can't see is just upstream of this, there's another media luna that is also flowing and spreading that water before it gets here and then transitioning down. And so there's really kind of four different techniques all blended together here. One is what I would call a gully, which is the brush berm that filled in that head cut, and that's a layering of some sticks and branches and tumbleweeds packed with a mix of mineral earth and wood chips to make essentially a nice looking path. Um, and then the next technique is a stable transition from the higher ground to the lower ground. And so that's kind of the rock mulch rundown that lets us bring water safely from a higher elevation to a lower elevation. And then to maximize the holding capacity, that's the media luna, to help spread that water and really maximize how much of it has the chance to soak into the soil and feed some plants. And then the last set of techniques are just downstream. There's one rock dams. Once it's actually, the channel is, it's channelized enough, the side slopes are such that there's no place to really spread water out that particular spot, just the nature of the topography and the pinch point. So then we used the one rock dam to further slow the flows and provide an opportunity to catch and grade that channel back up in small increments. In this case, 6 to 9 inches is the height of that particular one rock dam, so that over time it can build up, and we can start to get more connectivity between the plant roots, because there's a lot of the edge vegetation on these banks is just, you can see the roots dangling out. And so we were trying to get that water and sediment up to those. And that's also another benefit of the brush. Support.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It's really easy to see when you explain it and you put it all together. But again, this is such an incredible way of approaching land regeneration or erosion control, because when you look at it, you almost think, well, what are we actually looking at, and how could this be doing anything? And yet when you start to play out the water structure and how this interrupts and gets to the media luna, and then you've got a number of logs and branches that basically create a slowing effect for that water, and then your one rock dam, it really will spread this water out. And so for regeneration, or for giving more water and more organics for this site, when do you expect to see further growth on these different implements?
In terms of having more plant growth, um, I think, we've had a decent monsoon and some good fall rains this year. So I'm hoping that that's charging things up, some late season growth, and kind of have things in a good space to maybe get some better, some new germination in the spring. We've been in a very severe drought the last. We built some of these erosion control structures, and then it's been sitting around and waiting for it to rain enough to get to see them in action. And that's also part of that action is seeing what sort of vegetative response that we can get over time. I should add that we did throw a seed mix under the rocks as well. And so it was provided by the land management agency, and had a mix of native grasses and wildflowers. So we'll see when that comes. Sometimes those seeds can take a couple years until they're like just hit the right conditions and start to germinate and grow. So it's a little bit of a game, especially in these more arid climates.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Jeff, thanks so much for sharing this project with us. I know for myself, I'm taking away how simple some of these techniques are, how, as you call it, shovel ready these techniques are, that it's rather simple for people to pick up. And really, you can work in some of the smaller streams, the smaller orders of streams, and really start to build capacity before you move to some of the bigger order of streams, where bigger mistakes means bigger consequences. But you can do this at higher, smaller orders and really start to create proficiency. Anything else you'd like to finish with to let people know about this work?
I think you gave a good summation. I think learning some principles and techniques, and then getting started and playing with it, and picking low energy, low risk areas where you can start getting a little experience, and then over time working up into larger systems or more complicated endeavors, and kind of growing your own skill set by getting out and practicing some of these, and reading the landscape, and trying to just get that experience to train your eye and knowing what you're looking at, and to train your body in the techniques of how to actually build some of these, and hit the key principles so that you minimize any chances of unintended consequences.
Well said. Thanks so much for your time, Jeff. If folks are interested in checking out more of Jeff's work, go to Terrasophia. And if you're interested in learning this work, we've got a course coming up with Jeff and Neil Bertrando of RT Permaculture in 2022 called Low Tech Erosion Control, where both Neil and Jeff, who are have experience with these work, are going to pass on site assessment, how to appropriately approach these conversations, and then also how to put these into play.